We all want new guests at our church to feel welcomed and cared for, and so that they will want to come back. The question is, what can we do to make that happen? Well, today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to give you 9 easy ways to improve your hospitality.
Thanks for joining us again today on Practical Church Planting. We're going to be giving you 9 ways to improve hospitality.
Yeah, so these are a bunch of random little tidbits of things that we have done over the years that have made it more accessible, particularly to people that are new. Some things that we can forget because the longer we're at a place, we know where everything is, we know all the people, we can kind of forget what it's like to be new. And so if we want new people to come back, we want to do everything we can to make it a enjoyable experience for them.
Yeah, and what I found is little like episodes like this where we don't have any that are like gonna blow your mind. It's just a bunch of tips, and a lot of times I find those are the most applicable or the most useful because not everyone is looking to overhaul or revamp everything, but just something that you can tweak can make things a lot better.
Yeah, this is one where these are like really simple.
Yeah,
so they're not maybe the most earth-shattering, but there are some of them you might have been familiar with, some ones you hadn't thought of because it just takes time to do it. So. If you've already planted or you're in the process, you can keep these in mind. 9 easy things, simple things to improve your hospitality. Here's the first one: to have umbrellas when it rains. And we would say not just to have umbrellas, but to have your people go out to people's cars with umbrellas. And so we only have 2, so it's not like we have tons. I mean, we could get more. But we have 2 like big size, so you can actually have someone under the umbrella with you. Yeah. And just like you have people at the door, whatever, when it's raining, have them outside. If you have an overhang, they can stand under the overhang until someone gets there. But if not, just have them stand under the umbrella. I do this when it rains. It's actually kind of fun because it's helpful because it doesn't take someone who's out the door to take them away. I'm not technically in a position. So, somebody grab somebody or whatever, and your shoes will get wet, but you'll be fine.
Yep.
And you just go to their cars when it rains, and people really like it. And the joke I always say is like, people are always like, oh, this is so great. Thank you so much. Like, this is like Chick-fil-A, except we're open on Sundays.
That's right.
That's just,
right.
And they love it because Chick-fil-A is big where we are. So it's an easy way to do it. And I would even say, even if it's like, if it's not raining at all and just cloudy, you don't want to do it. But if it's like superly lightly drizzling where an umbrella doesn't really matter, it still shows people that you care. And people they do not expect it. And it's funny because we always do it when it rains. And people still are like, oh, this is so great. Thank you so much. And they laugh and they smile. And so it's a way to connect with somebody and talk with someone, even if just for like 5 or 10 seconds to make it. They've had, especially if they're new, they don't expect it. So, have umbrellas near the front door and actually have somebody or 2 people go out to cars as people were coming in. And it's a small thing, but people really like it.
Yeah, and this is the kind of thing where if it's something you haven't done, then I would say go out and get umbrellas today. Yeah. Because especially in the very early year, like very early on at New City, I remember a couple of times where it would be raining and I don't remember if we actually didn't have them or just they had gotten like lost or couldn't find them really early on, and so we weren't necessarily as prepared as we should have been. And so, if you wait until it's raining, obviously it's too late. But so get them today. Like it's something that I think it's very easy to explain to your people why you do it. I think if you just tell people that this is what we want to do, everyone's going to understand why, and it's a good way to help people connect, like you said, because. I mean, no matter how good we are at connecting people or finding people that are new, just inevitably some people are going to slip through the cracks, some people are going to get missed. And this is just another way to try and minimize that as much as possible. And so get people under umbrellas. I mean, it's easy to do.
No one's going to say, I don't want that.
That's very true.
Even if they don't want it, they're just going to smile and take it and accept it. Yep. And so having umbrellas, now, just a little tip, don't walk right up to their car as soon as they park and don't stand right next to the door. If it's somebody that it's different. Obviously they don't really care. If someone you're not quite sure, I would stand maybe somewhat near the car and wait till they start to actually open their door. It's okay to be like half a second late than to be right at their front door, especially if they're early and they're new. Like a lot of people that are, if they come like 10, 15 minutes early, they're not trying to come right in right away, and it can just be awkward. Now we have 2, so we don't get everybody, but it's like, people don't expect it, and even if somebody comes and you don't get them and they get someone else, it's just fun and people like it, and it's super obviously cheap. It's like a one-time purchase, and it's really easy to do. And so we would have your umbrellas, have them the big size, and help people come in.
And let's be honest, nobody brings umbrellas. I don't know if that's just a modern day thing, but like people run to the door if it's raining or cover their head with like a purse or something like that. But nobody comes with an umbrella, so it's just a nice thing.
And it's even funny. We're in Raleigh, and I think this is accurate. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure I read recently that we actually get more rainfall than Seattle.
Really?
Now, Seattle's like the assumption. I don't know, maybe it's just like when it comes, people just assume.
Yeah.
But Seattle rains a lot, but there's a lot of places in the country that rain more. So we have an above average compared to Seattle. Everyone thinks it rains a lot. And here, people don't have umbrellas.
Yeah.
So it's easy. It's fun. Go and do it. And also explain the why. I remember one time it was drizzling, and we had somebody who was going to do the umbrellas, and she was like, why would we do it? It's like hardly even raining. And she was like, people don't really care. And it's like, it's not about, again, for a lot of the things that we do, like having parkers in your parking lot if you're not a big church, it's not because you need someone to tell someone where to park. They know where to park. It's about welcoming people, letting them know that you expect them and that you're excited to see them. And so even if it doesn't seem like it's raining at all, it's an easy thing. Nobody says no to umbrella. And people always smile. It's no joke. It has rained the last 4 or 5 Sundays.
Yeah.
In Raleigh, and it's been cold. It's been the worst ever. And every week they smile when they have an umbrella. So it's easy to do it. Umbrellas when it rains.
Yep.
Number 2, do not use a doorstop when you are holding open a door. So here's what we do if we don't have someone at the front door or the auditorium door or wherever you have doors that people come in and out of. Probably not the bathroom because you want that door to stay closed.
True.
But all the other ones, we'll just put a doorstop because it's it keeps the door open. People come in. That makes sense, but that is not welcoming. Like, it's not welcoming to have a doorstop and have nobody there. I don't know. Maybe it's better than having the door closed. Like, and if you don't have, sure. But it's not a substitute for a person, because a person holding a door says, I'm here, I'm excited, I'm welcome. I mean, imagine going to, I don't know, a fancy hotel or a fancy restaurant where you expect good service, and instead of having someone at the door, they just have a doorstop. Like, you'd be like, this is... And again, people aren't expecting this out of church, but this is what we want to go above and beyond. I would say it's okay to have a doorstop if someone's in front of the door. So, like, they're actually right there. Although, I think not having a doorstop is better because there's no, like, they understand they got to be there. They're not just going to walk away randomly. Or if they do walk away, someone else might be able to see it. And so that's a small thing. But we were told this when we were doing this when we were launching. We had someone come in who was leading hospitality at a larger church, and this was something that she was talking about a lot. So he didn't really think about it, how welcoming a person is and how unwelcoming a doorstop is. And so don't replace a person with a doorstop.
Yeah, I mean, it's most people's first point of contact when they come into the building. Maybe a parker waving, but like first conversational point of contact when they come into the building is someone at the front door. And so to replace that with nothing, I mean, a doorstop is not a human or not like an actual thing, it hurts a lot. And it's an easy place to greet somebody, to say hi, where once they get in your lobby, depending on your setup, it might be easy for them to get kind of lost in a crowd or kind of go their own way. And it's a lot harder to make connections with somebody once there's kind of a lot of people around. But at a door, it's super easy because you greet every single person. And so it's I don't know. I think it's really maximizes the amount of times that you can greet somebody or connect with someone.
Yeah, again, that's a good point. It's like these are obvious, unawkward places. Have someone at a door as opposed to, having someone, I don't know, in your lobby, which is good. We have people in our lobby, but that could be awkward for somebody if they're not expecting it. But they're going to come out of their car, if it's raining. They're going to walk through the front door, easy, non-awkward points of contact. So try to avoid a doorstop.
Yeah, I think that's good. Also, you're saying how you can have someone like stand in front of a doorstop, and I think that's okay. We've had people in the past mention, because we have like heavier doors, like we have one and stand in front of it. And it's not the worst thing. Like it's good if someone's standing there. I think it's fine. But it's just like you said, it's much easier to walk away, to drift away in another conversation if the door is being held open. Where if there's nothing holding it open but you, it's going to be very obvious that a door shut. Yeah. And it's very hard to miss that you're not doing, quote unquote, doing your job.
For all these things, that's why it's important not just to tell people what to do, but why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Again, it's the door's heavy. It's not a big deal. Maybe they wouldn't care if the door was open for them. But again, if they're serving at your church, they know people, they've been coming for a while. It's a different experience if they're brand new, never been to church before. So make sure you explain the why. So don't use the doorstop. Number 3, we talk about this all the time, so this won't be a shocker, but have parkers in your parking lot. I think we even have an episode devoted to this.
We do.
So, this is, again, it's not to tell people where to park. If you're a church plant or you're a smaller church, it's not hard where to park. It's to say, we expect you, we're excited to see you. It's easy to wave at somebody, give them Mickey Mouse hands or something like that. That can be fun. The building that we're in now, the parking is kind of weird. And because of COVID, we don't have a parking issue at all. And so we have 2 parkers in our parking lot. Ideally, post-COVID, things go back to normal at some point. We'd have to have 4 because it's kind of weird how you park around here. But right now, nobody needs to be told where to park.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows where they're going, or they can figure it out. They're not there to tell people where to park. They're there to say you're in the right place and to wave. Because again, if you're new, even though we have signs, it's like, am I here? Am I not? Seeing somebody, because there's like shops all around us. With a yellow vest on, it's like, oh, I'm in the right place. So that's another point, because when we actually came to look at this space that we're in before we were here, there's another church was here to check it out on a Sunday morning, and the parking was kind of weird, and it was full. This was pre-COVID, and so we didn't know exactly where to go. Yeah. So we had to drive around the building a whole time to find a spot. They had one parker. The only reason I knew they were a parker because I'm a church person, and I saw a lanyard. But if I wasn't, I was like, and the parker wasn't like they weren't looking, they were just kind of standing there. And so have people in your parking lot, give them a yellow vest so that people know you're in the right spot.
This is a person.
And this could even work if you're in a school or community center, or maybe there's like a big parking lot and it takes a while to get to the actual building. And it's like, oh, I'm going to go where the people are standing because this is where it's going to be. So more than parking, it's just for like, you're in the right spot to wave and to let people know that you expect to have people who may not know where to park or may not know where to go.
Yeah, I think parkers can be used in any scenario and in a good way. Like you said, right now, we have a lot of parking here, but it's just weird. Like, it's all around the building, and there's parking lots that are shared with other businesses. So there's actually a lot of parking. It's just a little unique how you get to it in our place. And we have a lot of pass-through traffic. So we have a lot of we have a road that goes through. And so our parkers, when we went from our old space, which was we were the only thing in the place open on Sunday, so it was obvious anyone coming was for us, to here where you don't know if they're coming for the church or just driving through. It was kind of confusing for our parkers to be like, who do I direct, or who do I point to? Where do I point them to? And they just have defaulted to, especially now during COVID, where when we're not as full and only doing one service, waving. And they all get that's a fine thing to do. And no one's like complained like this is pointless or anything like that, because they get that people need to be welcomed. And especially here, where they can park in so many different areas, it might take them a few minutes before they actually get to a human, to the front door, like if they park behind the building or something. So this way they can actually see somebody and be greeted. But I mean, even if your parking is super obvious, if you just have like a parking lot style parking lot.
Which for us at our old space, it pretty much was.
Yeah, and like you even see this at big churches, like where they have a dedicated parking lot where if you drive in, you can just find your own spot, and it's obvious where to go. But if you've been to like these larger churches, most of them will have someone directing even like to the space if need be. And even though everyone could find their own space, if you go to a mall, you can find your own space, even if it's a big parking lot. But it's just a way to know that there's a person helping you, there's a person that cares, and a person greeting you, and that you don't have to wait, a couple minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, until you get to the front door to see another human being.
Yep, that's good. Have parkers in the parking lot.
Parkers in the parking lot.
Easy thing to do. Make sure they have a yellow lanyard on, or not a lanyard.
A vest.
A vest.
Something identifying them.
That they're parkers. All right, number 4, you want to make your Connect area obvious. So if you have a place where people go at the end of the service to drop off a Connect card or to talk, which we would recommend, we'll talk about that in a second about acknowledging guests. But we would say have a dedicated space where people can go if they're new to get more information. So for us, we have a Connect. At our old space, it was really small, and so we had a black tent. And for most of the year, maybe a little bit in the winter, but for most of the year, we would have a black tent outside in the parking lot. We called the Connect tent.
Yep.
Very obvious. In our new space, we have a little wall that we're looking at. If you're watching the video, I'm looking at it right now, right in front of us. It says Connect with us in white letters, and it's teal. And so we tell people, go to the teal wall. Now, this is helpful, too, not just to say go to the Connect table, because people don't know where that is.
Yes.
Even if you're smaller and you have one table in your lobby, if you're a new person, you don't know what a Connect table is. And so having an identifier makes it easier. So if you can say, connect with us at the black tent outside, or we say connect with us at the teal wall, like they know exactly where to go. And so we have a dedicated area. If you're new to drop a Connect card, we have someone there every week. We give tours. I think we have an episode about that, but just as a side note, it's a fun way. We try to keep it like less than 10 minutes. And so we go pretty quick, but we just walk them around the area, which our area is not big. So it's not about the tour. It's about just connecting with them for a few more minutes. And so we found that to be really, really helpful. But we go to the teal wall, you drop off your Connect card. And now you might say we're smaller or we're about to launch and we're not going to have, I don't know that we're going to have new people every single week. That's fine. Just have somebody there every service. At the end of the service, have them stand there for 5-10 minutes. And if no one comes, like, it's not an awkward thing because nobody's like, oh, look, there's no one at the Connect table. Like, nobody's thinking about it. Either they're going to go to the Connect table or they're not thinking about it. But you want to have the practice of having a place and having someone stand there every week How we do it is the person who does next steps is always the person who goes to the connect table at the end of service, so that people already like know who to talk to, or they've already seen the face. So that makes it a little bit helpful. But if there's a way to maybe what I've found, because got this idea from larger churches, is to give a color to it, like a black tent or the teal wall. If you don't have a color, it's fine, but maybe you could buy like a tablecloth,
like a stretch cloth,
cloth, and say go to the blue table or go to the red table, but make it just for where people can drop off their Connect card or sign up for something if you have it, and try to make it obvious. It'll be easier for people to go to it as opposed to like awkwardly trying to find it after the service.
Yeah, this is one of the church things, like one of the church phrases that we use that we forget that people who aren't in the church world, like what's a Connect table? It means nothing outside of church. And so if you just tell people always go to the Connect table, they may be able to figure out if they really, really want to connect. But if they're just, the regular person who maybe would if it was a little bit easier, they probably won't go the extra mile to seek it out. And so making it painfully obvious, which especially at our old space during the winter, this is something that we we spend a lot of time working on trying to get it as obvious as possible, because during the summer at our old space, it was a tent outside. It's obvious. But during the summer, like we had a small space. During the winter, if we had to be inside, we didn't want to just have a Connect table.
Yeah, and have it blocked by everybody.
Yeah,
it's small. Yeah,
exactly. And so having something that's painfully obvious, which here we kind of did a couple iterations before we figured out that if we just paint a wall, then it's obvious. Tell people go to the wall. And so that's what we do now. And it's giant letters that says Connect with us, and it's literally impossible to miss. When you're walking out, it's in your eyesight. And so making it just stupidly obvious to the point where you might even feel like you're making people like you think like almost to the point where you feel dumb saying how obvious it is, but it needs to be just so painfully obvious to where there's no barrier at all for someone to come and connect.
And this is really helpful when it comes to people inviting their friends, because they know that their friends are going to be like obviously told what to do and not just some weird thing. And so make it obvious, paint a wall, get a tablecloth if you're portable, but make something easily identifiable. And as a side note too, make sure your Connect area is easily, I don't know how to say this, escapable.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
so like we have a little room that we could put the Connect area in, both in our current space and our old space. But like if you're new and you feel like you can't leave, you don't want to do it. So outside is a great area, or just in the lobby that's like at least on the way out, but not off in some corner that they can't leave easily. Just don't want to make people to feel like they're trapped. And so make it obvious and make it easily escapable or open, so they don't have to go into some room. Because the chances of a new person going to some room, you cut it maybe in half, maybe more, because unless they really want information, they can just feel like, if I go in this room, how long am I going to stay here? They can let me out. So
yeah, it's weird. And you made a good point. I think it's good to always, if you do like next steps or announcements, to always have that person do it if possible. But I mean, I would say always, because that's what we do. And it's just it's hard for a brand new person to go up to someone that they've never met, never seen, and strike up a conversation. It's just awkward, and it's not something most of us do in our everyday lives. And so at least if it's someone you've seen on stage, know their name, and maybe they like said something that you can identify with during their announcements or something like that, then at least it gives them a little bit of breathing room or a little bit of ease to go up to this person and approach them for the conversation.
Yeah, we might have made it. Maybe we should have made this a separate point. But that's another tip: is have your next step person be the person that takes the Connect card or is at this thing. And if you do a tour, that gives a tour. You can have someone else out there too. Like if you have multiple new people, it's good that they don't have to wait in a line. You always have like 2 people. But it makes it really obvious. How it works for us is the next step person, which is we call announcements, does the next step somewhere in the beginning-ish of service. Changes a little bit, and then we typically have them. We do confession every week. We do communion once a month, so they might do that. Depends. They may or may not do that.
Yeah.
But they always typically end the service. So they begin the service with next steps, either after the first song or right at the beginning of the service, and they end the service really briefly. We just say we mention again if you're connect with us and how to give, and they also say you can meet me at the teal wall. Occasionally, I will end the service if there's like something we have to share, and it's even helpful for me to say, hey, Kyle, who was up here earlier, he will be out there at the teal wall. So. Have the next step person be the person at the Connect table. I think it makes it a little bit more inviting, because they've seen the person.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, make a Connect area obvious. Number 5, what is this? Number 5, yes. Use lanyards. So for your serve team or your volunteers, one of the ways to make it obvious or to make it more obvious if someone has a question is to give them lanyards. What we do, because a lot of churches do it differently, you could like print out stuff and like put a piece of paper in like a a see-through badge
Yep.
or a cardstock piece of paper, which is fine. What we've settled on is we have these plastic badges that have our New City logo and a blank line in the middle, where our coordinator every Sunday will write people's name with a wet erase marker, not dry erase, because
Wet erase.
dry erase you can smudge it off.
Yep.
And so she'll write everybody's name each week, and they'll put it on. Now we go a step further than that as well, where we actually have our serve teams. It's kind of complicated, so this might not. You probably can't start out like this, but what we do is we have serve teams. Everyone serves once a month, ideally, and they have different colors. That's like gold and red and green and blue or something like that.
That's exactly what
and
it
so
is.
we have, look at that. We have shirts that say, how can I help you? And so if you're on hospitality that week, we actually give you a shirt and a lanyard, so it's really obvious. But that costs money and all that sort of thing.
Yep.
So an easy way in the beginning is to get a wet array, or to get a lanyard that they can wear and write their name on it. I think this is better than just giving them a lanyard with your church logo, because it shows to people that are serving that they're valued.
Yep.
Like if you're new and you have a lanyard, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. And this way you don't have to print a bunch of them or make a bunch of them, but you can actually write their names that they wear on it. And it's just an easy way to say, hey, I'm serving. If someone has a question, you can say from stage, either find someone with a lanyard, or for us, we can say find someone with a shirt color. But like, it's an easy way to let people know this person's serving if you have questions.
Yeah, we used to kind of what you're saying. We used to have a lanyard with the badge was kind of like a little plastic sleeve.
Yeah,
a little 3x5, and we'd print an actual badge for each person with their name and like slip it in there, which is fine. It's something you can do. It's a cheap option. We just found that over time they start getting dirty and gross, and like
people lose them.
People lose them. We constantly were having to reprint new ones, and then like if we were running low on toner or something like that, and the printer it would look different than some of the others. Yep. And so after a while, we just decided we're just going to bite the bullet and buy just in bulk. They just have church name on the full church name, like our logo with our church name on one side, and on the flip side, it's just our logo without the name and then a line.
Yep.
And that's it. And honestly, it was much less expensive than I thought, and we got so many that people can lose them all they want, and we'll be able to replace them forever. But they look 100 times better.
Yep.
And like you said, wet erase, because dry erase we found rubs off on people's clothes, and they did not like that. But it looks clean. It looks like they belong to something, and especially for a volunteer who. It's just, no matter what you do, there's going to be times where volunteers feel unappreciated, which it happens. We want to avoid as much as possible, but it will happen sometimes. And it's just one of those little things that lets them know, like, this is your church. This is something that you're doing. You're not just here attending, but you're here actually making this what it is.
Particularly if it's the first time serving, having a lanyard is nice, as opposed to like it's the first time serving, you haven't print one or made one, and everyone else gets one but them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good impression. So use lanyards. It lets people know that these people are serving or volunteering. Helps your hospitality increase. I don't even know.
Next.
I can't read this. Next. I think it's 6. It is 6.
Yep.
Make your coffee area accessible. So if you do coffee, which we do, one of the things that we have found in our current space and our old space is where people get coffee, they congregate.
They get coffee and then just turn around and stand.
Yep. And so what you want to do wherever you do coffee, if you do it, is you want to put it in an area where people hopefully can get in and out easily. At our old space, this was harder than our new space. Our new space is more so just getting people to move. And so having a serve person, if they're doing coffee, that's a great place to have someone at coffee, is like behind the coffee bar, even if it's like self-serve, because it's an easy way for conversations to happen. So it's not awkward. It's not really intrusive, even if it's just like 5 or 10 seconds. A lot of new people, if they get there early, and they don't know what to do, but they like coffee, they're going to get coffee.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so it gives them something to do. But make it accessible. So try not to put it in an area where people can't get in and out easy, just like the Connect area. And if it is a place where people congregate, just have someone, be around to say, hey, try to make sure that it's not being blocked so that people can access it.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of your thoughts on it, I think coffee is a really important part of Sunday morning. And I don't mean like church isn't church without coffee, but it's something that helps people feel welcome. It helps people, I mean, most people like it, and most people honestly nowadays kind of I wouldn't say expect it, as if they would get angry if it's not there, but it's something that is usually there. And so I think it's something that people really appreciate. And so having it be in a place where they can find it, if they're new, it's not off in the corner. It's not like kind of like you said with the Connect area, it's not like in kind of like a room or something where if you're new, you're like, is that for me or not for me? But it's just obvious where it is. And the more open it can be, the better. Whether it's possible to have people on both sides of it or not, or whatever the case is, someplace where it's easy to get to and that people can get their coffee and move on instead of feeling like they're cornered, I think really helps.
Yep. So that's it. Make it area accessible so people can get it. And like Brian was saying, if you're new, you don't want it to be some awkward place where you can't get and walk out of. So
yeah, and this might be more difficult if you're portable. Which, I mean, there's still ways. It just depends on budget and things. But I think having signage or labeling in some capacity what it is really helps. I mean, we all know coffee is coffee, so calling, like, we call it the coffee bar, or we say help yourself to coffee now in this place, and so everyone knows, like, it's coffee. Like, you're not helping anybody know what it is by putting it there, but it helps people know that it's for everybody. Because especially, I remember this, especially growing up, like, in more traditional churches, where they would sometimes have, like, coffee makers and things, but a lot of times they're, like, off to the corner or, like, kind of at the side, and where you didn't really know if it's for everyone or not.
Especially if you're new.
Especially if you're new. And so having it labeled where it's not like people are going to be like, oh, coffee, but it helps them know that this is for everybody, and this is not just something that we have this Sunday because there's extra coffee or something.
Yep. So they make it accessible.
Yep.
Number 7, this one might be kind of obvious, but it's a good reminder, is that you want to keep your space clean.
Yep.
If you're portable, you might be able to get away with it a little bit more, but it's still, like, if it's uncomfortable, if the kids' area is dirty, if it's people see that, and if you're new, you're way more observant than if you're not. Yeah. So one of the things we do, I mean, we clean our space every week, but even like on Sunday mornings, I'll go out there. I don't know why I do it, but I don't know. I've come to enjoy doing this. I'll go out because there's a lot of through traffic, and there's like a McDonald's near us, there's a gas station near us, and people just throw their trash everywhere. Yeah. And so we go around every Sunday morning and pick up the trash. Yep. Even if it's on the side parking lot, even if it's not necessarily right in our parking lot, it's like on the road right next to it, people still see it, and it can still make them feel, even though it's not you that did it, even if they know it's not your church, it was probably somebody else. It just, like, I don't know, just like you clean up your house before somebody comes.
Yeah.
And so if you notice it, don't think it's not that big of a deal, because if you see something small, you're like, it's not that big a deal, I don't really feel like messing with it. Somebody else will definitely see it. And so just, have a person, if you're with your setup, or even if you don't set up like us, you can still schedule someone as a setup person where they can clean. If you have your own space, clean during the week, every week, even if you don't feel like you need it, just to help keep the place clean for new people, because new people will notice it if something is off or dirty.
Yeah, that's a good point. By the time you notice it, people have noticed it long before, because you get used to the way the place looks. Especially if you have a permanent space where you're here every day, then stuff gets a little bit dirty over time. You don't notice a drastic change; it just happens. Where a new person or someone who comes just periodically will notice. And so having, whether it's yourself if you're a one-man crew, or a staff or volunteer person, clean, and asking people or telling people you need help with this, I think is totally acceptable. And what we've found in the past is that people like doing it probably more than you do. And so like people will be okay with helping, and it's pretty understandable that it's a need. If you tell people we really want to keep the space clean, you don't have to convince them why. And so keeping it clean, but especially I would say if you're portable, don't just take it for granted that it's automatically going to be clean. Like, for example, a church we used to be at, we were portable in a community college at the time, and who obviously had a custodial crew, and most of the time it was clean, but in the kids' rooms, there was many times where we had to vacuum. Like they just hadn't gotten to it yet, or whatever. It's just dirtier one week than the other. And so even if you think that it should always be clean, make sure you're always keeping an eye on it, because there are just times where things fall through the cracks, and obviously you can't just, if it's dirty, you can't just blame someone else. Like you have to do something about it on Sunday.
Yeah, and you might not like cleaning, but some people actually do enjoy cleaning.
Totally.
And it's also one of those positions where you can see a tangible difference. So it's like, oh, it was dirty, now it's not dirty. So what I did actually mattered. So just keep it clean, because new people will definitely notice.
Yes.
Number 8, getting close to the end, is that you want to make giving obvious. Now you might be like, new people giving. We've just found that we had people who came maybe out of town, or it was their first time, and they wanted to give, and they didn't know how to give because we don't pass a plate. And so that was one of those things where it's like, I want to do this. How do you, what do I do? Yeah. We have giving boxes that say New City Church. Well, at the time, I just said New City Church. There's a couple of them in the auditorium, and as you left, we knew what they were. But like, obviously, if you're new, you don't know what a giving box is, especially if you have this idea that you're supposed to pass a plate. And so we've done 2 things. One, on top of all of our giving boxes, we have a 8.5 by 11 little sleeve thing. I don't know what you call those plastic things.
Yeah, a little like sign holder.
Yeah, a sign holder. There you go. And we printed a thing above it that just says give with our logo and like a little money sign or something like that. So it's like, oh, if you see a box, it says give, It's obvious. The second thing we do is that we mention it every week. So at the end of our service, we briefly, like 30 seconds or left, we re-mention, if you're new with us, connect, fill the connect card, and then we also say, here's how you can give at the giving boxes in the back of the auditorium and lobby and online. Our little graphic design guy that goes here made us a really awesome graphic that actually has our boxes on the screen, so it makes it obvious. But even if you don't have that, it's like, pointing out where it is, because some people do want to give, and it's not. It doesn't make it feel uncomfortable because you don't have to. It's just super brief. Here's how you give if you want to support the mission of New City. We're so thankful for your generosity. But some people want to give, and so if you don't tell them how to do it, it's not as hospitable.
Yeah, and this is one of the many things that we just take for granted if you're staff or going for a long time. Like, there's no other reason that boxes would be mounted to the wall. Like, it's obvious to us. It's obvious this is what giving is for, or we know that most people give online, and so we know if you go to our website, it's obvious how to give. But it's just not everyone thinks the same way you do, and not everyone is used to seeing the space the same way that you are. And so saying it every single week. I remember we had a family member that came for a little while, and he came probably for, I don't know, a couple weeks or months or something like that. And after a while, he asked us, he's like, how do you give here? Like, do you guys take giving? And obviously he wasn't like someone who's been in church forever, but he was like, do you guys do offering, or how does that work? And we're like, well, yeah, like you walk by a box every time you leave the auditorium. I just thought everyone knew. But it was just kind of dawning that, like, not everyone thinks the exact same way that not everyone realizes the same things we do. So making it painfully obvious.
Yeah, and as we've talked about a lot of episodes, assuming people know how to do things, or assuming people should know what they're supposed to do, gets us in a lot of trouble, because then we don't make it clear and obvious and tell them what to do. So make giving really obvious however you do it.
Yep.
And then finally, last but not least, you want to acknowledge new guests every single week.
Yes.
Not in an awkward way, not like stand up and raise your hand or whatever.
Yes, please don't.
But you want to mention them, even if you're new and there's no new person. Like, you can see, and there hasn't been anyone new for a month. And you still want to do it every week, because it lets people know, hey, if a new person they'll be acknowledged, because no matter how big your church is, new people think they're the only new person there.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like they're acknowledged, and it tells your people, if I invite somebody, like, there's going to be some acknowledgement that we expect new people to be here. And so what we do is, for our next steps, every week, the first part, we normally do 3, sometimes 4 next steps. So it's 2 minutes or less, so where we keep it. The first thing is always connect. It's a connect card in the seat back in front of you. I'd love to meet with you after the service, so you can fill it out, give you a Chick-fil-A gift card, even give you a tour if you're interested, blah, blah, blah. We mention it every week, and it's because we want people to know. And it's interesting, like, not that people would complain about this, but like, people know when it's the next step person, what the first thing they're going to say.
Yep.
But I think it also helps people understand and get it, that we expect new people and we celebrate that new people are here. And so don't feel awkward, because in the day, people want your church to grow. Like, they want more people to see Jesus, especially if they're like serving and they're members or whatever, and they're giving. Like, they want other people to come to your church and experience who Jesus is. That's why you're doing this. So we say it every week, twice. In the beginning of service, or whenever we do our next steps, is the first thing. And then at the very end of service, the next step person comes back up and says, hey, if you're new, again, I'd love to fill out your Connect card. I'd love to meet you at the lobby at the teal wall to give you a quick tour of the space, and then giving, and then they say the bottom line, and then we say you're sent, whatever, in the service.
Yep.
So it's like in the beginning, because some people come late, and so they might not even have heard the initial new person welcome. And then here at the end of the service, just a reminder, here's where to go. And it's super quick, but we do it every week, and it lets people know if they're new, or if they invite somebody new, they'll be acknowledged. And it's like, your people, even if you're a small church, you might know generally everybody there, but your people don't know everybody there.
Yeah.
And so you might know there's no new people in the room, but someone else doesn't know there's no new people in the room.
Sure.
And so it just helps train your people that we expect and we want new people to come.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that everyone always thinks that they're the only new person. I remember it was maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. And like, it's been a long time since we've been at a church as new people. Like, we were part of New City before we launched and stuff. But we went on, I think it was a Saturday night, to a different church, because I think we were going to be gone out of town that Sunday. So we were here, and we were like, there's this other like large church that a lot of people in the area know of and go to close by. So we're like, we'll just go there on a Saturday night. And even though it was a big church, and I know, like, obviously there's multiple new people, I remember going in and being like, it kind of feels like we're the only new people here. Like, it's just, you get that feeling, even if you know that that's not the case. And so being acknowledged, I mean, obviously that was a big church, but being acknowledged at a small church, I think, is good, and not in an awkward way, not in a, calling you out or anything way, but just, if you're new, these are the steps to take if you want to connect more. It helps you not just kind of let your guard down if you're new, but also it helps you kind of figure out what to do next. Like, if I do want to connect, especially like me, I'm an introvert. I don't want to go ask somebody like, what are the next steps? What do I do? Like I don't want to look like an idiot. I hate looking like an idiot. So I want to know what to do. And if what to do is go to this table and talk to somebody, whether I do it or not is a different story, but at least I know that's the thing I need to do.
And what'll likely happen is a lot of times it's your first Sunday, you don't, not a lot because people do it, but many people also don't fill out anything because they don't even know if they like it.
Yeah.
And so by saying it every week, the second or third week, we get a lot of people the second or third week who end up filling out a Connect card because we remind them that here's what you do. Also, as a side note, we don't say if it's your first time. We used to say that, and then we realized we shouldn't. We say if you're new because a lot of people's first times, they don't do anything. And so they might think, well, I've been here 3 weeks, and so I guess it's too late to fill out a Connect card and get a tour or whatever. And so they just don't get connected. And so say if you're new and let them come. Now, again, you want to have a Connect card. We just ask for name, email, and phone. People can do address and more of that, but the more things you ask for, the less you get. Yeah. And so if they get connected, you can get their address later, but there's just less things for them to do. A couple of check marks is for things that they're interested in if they want prayer, but it's really just about getting their name and their email so that we can follow up with them. A lot of churches, and this is good, like they'll have especially with COVID, they'll have like QR codes where you can scan with your phone and do it online. I think that's fine, but I would highly recommend having a physical Connect card in the seats. Not that they have to go find, but like in their seat or somewhere around their seat. We have the seat backs in front of them. So like somewhere super accessible during the service that they can grab and fill it out. Because, I mean, I do everything online. Like, if you listen to this, you do, right? But I'm more apt, if I'm at a new church, to actually fill out a physical Connect card than like pull out my phone, put all the information in there. There's just something easy about having a pen and a Connect card and the seat back right in front of me where I could do it. And so we would recommend having something physical that they could fill out right there, not that they have to go find it after the service. It's easier just to drop it off than like have to fill it out in front of somebody. So
yeah, and that's a good point about like the QR codes. I mean, I know they're like big churches who are much smarter than us who do it, and I'm sure they have reason to. And so I'm not trying to say like we're smarter than them and don't do it, but in my own personal experience, like I hate pulling out my phone during church for the simple fact of like I don't want people to think I'm not paying attention. Like honestly, like I hate using the Bible app during church if I don't have to. Like it's just and it's just for me, it's like much easier to get distracted if a notification comes up. And so like I won't do that, not because it's a bad idea or anything like that, but just because I don't really want to pull out my phone in the middle, especially if I'm new in a small church and stuff and nobody else is. I don't want to be like the new guy who's pulling out his phone and looking like he's not paying attention. And so having another option, at least if you do think that's necessary, at least having another option of a paper Connect card, I think is good.
And they can fill it out then, or they can fill it out at the end of service, because we mentioned it at the end of service. So it's like, oh yeah, before I leave, let me pull this thing out real quick, and it's easy. So just acknowledge new guests every week. And we have episodes on preaching about how you can do that in your sermons as well that you can find. I don't know what numbers they are. But from stage, super quick, it lets people know we expected you to be here, and it makes them feel less awkward.
Yeah, it's good.
So those are 9 ways to improve hospitality. They're simple things that are, I think, easily implementable.
Yes.
So I hope you found it helpful. If you did, we'd love a rating and review so more people can find this podcast. And you should join us on our Facebook group, Practical Church Planting.
That's right.
We're approaching 900. We're almost at 900 as of this recording. So
that's right. Maybe we'll be over 900 now.
Yeah, and if not, help us get there.
That's right.
After listening to this. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planting.